Ladies and gentlemen, there is a silent enemy living within you. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It lives in your daily habits, in your routines, in the quiet voice that says, "This is just the way I am." And that enemy, that pattern, is killing your progress. You see, success does not happen by accident. It is not the result of luck or mere talent. It is the product of deliberate, intentional thought followed by action. But how can you act boldly when you are bound by the same thoughts, the same routines, the same tired excuses you rehearsed yesterday and the day before that? What you repeatedly do, you become. Your pattern, your rhythm, your comfort zone, it becomes your prison. You've built it with bricks of fear, procrastination, and the belief that tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow will only change if you change. You say you want growth. You say you want freedom. But are you willing to break the pattern? Are you willing to trade inconvenience for challenge? You cannot plant the seeds of greatness in the soil of mediocrity. The weeds of your habits will choke them every time. The truth is, life does not give you what you wish for. It gives you what you are willing to work for, and work means discomfort. It means disrupting the same pattern that has brought you to this very spot, over and over again. It means questioning your story, shaking your routine, and tearing up the script that tells you what you can't do. Your destiny is not determined by your circumstances, but by your decisions. And the most important decision you can make is to stop allowing the old version of yourself to decide who you will be tomorrow. You must decide now, right now, that enough is enough. A man who continues to walk in circles should not be surprised when he sees the same scenery. And a woman who keeps doing what she's always done should not expect to become someone new. If you want something different, you must become someone different. Burn the old patterns, challenge the familiar. Rewrite the code of your life with boldness, with faith, and with action. The door to your progress is not locked. It's just hidden behind the habits you're too afraid to break. Your daily patterns and habits shape your reality and can silently sabotage progress. This concept, though simple, carries with it profound implications for how we approach every aspect of our lives. In the grand scheme of things, it may seem harmless, even innocent, to continue doing what you've always done. After all, we are creatures of habit, wired to seek comfort, stability, and predictability. But the truth is that these very patterns and routines, these comfort zones, are often the silent killers of our progress, limiting our potential and keeping us stuck in the same place for far too long. We live our lives by a series of subconscious choices and routines. From the moment we wake up to the time we go to bed, we are following patterns that have been ingrained in us over years of repetition. What you choose to do in the first 30 minutes of your day, the people you interact with, the thoughts you entertain, the media you consume, all of these choices form the pattern of your life. They define your energy, your focus, and ultimately, the trajectory of your success or failure. While many of these patterns are formed unintentionally or due to circumstances, they are no less powerful in shaping the reality you experience. Now, it's important to realize that habits themselves aren't inherently bad. In fact, they are necessary for functioning efficiently. If you didn't have patterns for everyday activities, such as brushing your teeth, eating meals, or getting dressed, you would be overwhelmed by decision fatigue, unable to carry out basic tasks without having to deliberate over every single action. Our brains are wired to make routines automatic, freeing up our mental energy for more complex decisions. But there's a subtle distinction to be made here. While many habits serve us, others can work against us, especially when they limit our ability to grow, improve, or take risks. Consider the simple example of your morning routine. For many, it's an automatic process that starts with hitting the snooze button, scrolling through social media, and slowly dragging themselves out of bed. There's nothing inherently wrong with this, but ask yourself, is this routine empowering you? Are you starting your day with energy, focus, and purpose? Or are you allowing external distractions and unconscious habits to dictate your mindset and energy from the very beginning? When you live on autopilot, when you operate without intentionality, your day slips away from you before you even realize it. This creates a pattern of wasted time, lack of focus, and missed opportunities. You may tell yourself that you're too busy to change your routine, but in reality, it's your routine that is preventing you from achieving the success and growth you desire. This unconscious living, the failure to question the patterns that govern our lives, is precisely what holds us back. Our minds become trapped in the same cycles of comfort and familiarity, often resisting change or new challenges because they threaten to disrupt the established order. You might recognize this pattern in your own life. The familiar excuses you tell yourself, the stories you repeat about what you're capable of or unable to do, the habits you defend even when you know they are not serving your best interests. These mental and emotional patterns reinforce a fixed mindset, a belief that this is just who you are, and this is all you will ever be. But let me tell you, that is a lie. Your patterns are not your identity. They are just a reflection of where you are at this moment, and they can be changed. We can all recall a time when we set a goal or made a decision to change something about ourselves. Perhaps it was a New Year's resolution or a goal to become healthier, more productive, or more successful. At first, we are full of enthusiasm and excitement, ready to break the old patterns and embrace the new. But somewhere along the way, we slip back into the same routine. The temptation to return to what is familiar is strong. The old habits seem easier, more comfortable, and less taxing than forging a new path. This is the subtle danger of our patterns. They don't always look like obstacles at first, but over time they become the very things that hold us in place. The reality is that most of the limitations we face in life are self-imposed. We often convince ourselves that we cannot change our circumstances, that we cannot break free from our current situation, or that we are not capable of achieving something different. But the truth is that it's not the circumstances themselves that limit us. It's the patterns we have created around them. If you want to change your life, you must first change the patterns that you follow each day. You must break free from the invisible chains of comfort, fear, and doubt that bind you to your current reality. Think about it. What would happen if you started your day with intention? If you woke up earlier, if you eliminated distractions, and if you made the conscious decision to work toward your goals every single day. It's not about trying to overhaul your life in one go. It's about making small, intentional shifts in your routine that will compound over time and lead to dramatic change. Instead of checking your phone first thing in the morning, you could take a moment to focus on your goals, practice gratitude, or engage in a healthy habit that aligns with your aspirations. By interrupting the usual pattern, you begin to take control of your thoughts and actions, rather than allowing them to be shaped by external forces. This is the power of awareness, recognizing that your current patterns, your habits, your thoughts, and your behaviors are the results of previous decisions you've made. By becoming aware of them, you gain the ability to change them. But that requires courage. It requires breaking free from the comfort of the known and stepping into the discomfort of the unknown. It requires making decisions that may feel difficult or unfamiliar at first, but that will ultimately lead to your growth and success. Your patterns shape your destiny. Every small decision you make, every habit you form, is either propelling you toward your goals or pulling you further away from them. If you are not actively making choices that move you forward, you are passively accepting the patterns that are keeping you stuck. The good news is that you have the power to change. You don't have to wait for the perfect moment or for things to magically fall into place. All you need is the willingness to recognize the patterns that are sabotaging your progress and to make a conscious decision to create new ones. The journey to success, fulfillment, and growth begins not with external circumstances, but with your internal patterns. It's time to break the cycle of complacency, to shake off the old habits that no longer serve you, and to step into the life you were meant to lead. Growth demands discomfort, disruption, and a break from routine. This principle is often misunderstood. Many people associate growth with ease, progress with comfort, and success with a smooth, effortless journey. But the truth is, growth requires discomfort. It calls for stepping outside of the safe, predictable patterns that we've built for ourselves. It demands that we challenge the status quo and disrupt the very routines that have kept us in place for so long. This is a universal truth that applies to every area of life, whether it's in personal development, business, relationships, or health. Think about it for a moment. Every time you have achieved something significant in your life, was it the result of staying in your comfort zone? Was it the result of following the same old patterns, doing the same things over and over again, without stretching yourself? No. The times when you grew the most, when you took on a new challenge, learned a new skill, or pushed yourself to new heights, were the times when you stepped out of your comfort zone and embraced discomfort. Growth always begins on the other side of comfort. The reason for this is simple. Our brains are wired to seek safety. From an evolutionary perspective, this makes sense. Thousands of years ago, in a world filled with dangers and uncertainties, it was critical for humans to seek stability and security. The familiar and the predictable were survival mechanisms. But today, in a world where most of our basic survival needs are met, our brains have not evolved at the same pace as the demands of our modern lives. The patterns that once kept us safe can now hold us back from reaching our full potential. When we stay within the confines of comfort, we are limiting ourselves. We are telling ourselves that we don't need to stretch, don't need to grow, and don't need to face the discomfort of new challenges. This mindset is what keeps people stuck in cycles of mediocrity, unable to break through to the next level of success. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that growth should feel effortless. In fact, there's a common misconception that if you are truly meant to succeed at something, it will come naturally or feel easy. The truth is, this is almost never the case. True growth requires hard work, resilience, and a willingness to face discomfort head on. Take, for example, the process of physical training. When you start working out or exercising, your body will initially resist the changes. Your muscles will ache, your energy levels will fluctuate, and you may feel like giving up. But if you push through that discomfort, if you continue to challenge yourself and stay consistent, your body will begin to adapt. It will become stronger, more capable, and more resilient. But this transformation would never occur if you stuck to the same routine, if you never pushed your limits, or if you avoided discomfort at every turn. The same principle applies to other areas of life. Think about learning a new skill, whether it's a foreign language, a new software program, or a musical instrument. The process of learning something new can be incredibly uncomfortable. At first, you feel frustrated, confused, and out of your depth. But as you continue to practice and push through those feelings of discomfort, your competence increases. Eventually, you reach a point where the new skill becomes second nature, but none of that would have been possible without embracing the initial discomfort and disruption of your old routine. This idea of discomfort being essential to growth is not limited to physical or intellectual pursuits. It extends to every area of life, especially when it comes to personal and emotional development. Think about the discomfort of confronting your fears, your insecurities, and your limiting beliefs. It is easy to hide from these things, to bury them deep within, and to convince yourself that you are fine just the way you are. But true personal growth requires that you face these uncomfortable truths about yourself. It requires that you be honest with yourself about your weaknesses, your failures, and your shortcomings. Only by facing these uncomfortable realities can you begin to change them, improve them, and ultimately become the person you are capable of being. The disruption that growth demands is not limited to internal struggles either. It also requires external disruptions, changes in your environment, relationships, or habits. If you want to achieve something different in your life, you need to do something different. This might mean disrupting the routines that have kept you stuck. It might mean changing the people you spend time with, the environment in which you work, or the way you approach challenges. It might even mean letting go of the things that have been holding you back, whether that's a job, a relationship, or a way of thinking that no longer serves you. It's not always easy to embrace disruption, but it's necessary for progress. Think about the business world. Companies that fail to innovate or adapt to changing market conditions eventually become obsolete. The same applies to individuals. If you are not willing to disrupt your current way of doing things, whether that's in your work, your personal life, or your relationships, you will find yourself stuck in a loop, unable to break free from the patterns that no longer serve you. One of the most powerful forces in human life is the desire for certainty. We crave stability and predictability, and this can sometimes make us resistant to change. We like to know what's coming next, to have a sense of control over our lives. But the truth is that growth thrives in uncertainty. When you step into the unknown, when you embrace the discomfort of not knowing exactly what will happen next, that's when the most significant changes take place. You learn, you adapt, and you discover new capabilities within yourself that you never knew existed. But you will never discover these hidden strengths if you remain entrenched in the comfort of what's familiar. There is a key distinction between discomfort that holds you back and discomfort that propels you forward. The first kind of discomfort is rooted in fear and avoidance. It is the discomfort of staying where you are, the discomfort of not challenging yourself, and the discomfort of staying in situations that drain your energy and potential. The second kind of discomfort is the kind that pushes you beyond your limits. It's the discomfort of growth, of stretching yourself, of stepping into the unknown in order to create something better. This is the kind of discomfort you should seek out, because it's the one that will lead you to the results you desire. Growth is a process, not an event. It's a journey that requires perseverance, determination, and the courage to face discomfort. Every time you push through a challenge, you become stronger. Every time you embrace disruption, you open the door to new possibilities. The path to success, fulfillment, and personal transformation is not a straight line. It's filled with bumps, obstacles, and moments of discomfort, but each of these challenges is an opportunity for growth. By embracing them, you are not just surviving, you are thriving. You are becoming the person you were always meant to be. Change begins with a conscious decision to reject the old self and take bold action. This is one of the most powerful and liberating truths in the journey toward personal growth and success. Too often, people find themselves stuck in patterns, trapped in their comfort zones, and struggling to move forward simply because they fail to make that pivotal decision to change. We are creatures of habit, and our brains tend to cling to the familiar, even when that familiarity no longer serves us. But the truth is that transformation, whether it's in our personal lives, our careers, or our relationships, begins with a single deliberate choice, the choice to reject who we were and embrace who we can become. This decision to change is not an abstract or theoretical concept. It is a concrete, actionable moment that requires courage and commitment. It is not something that happens passively or by accident. In fact, most people don't change because they are not willing to make that first decisive step. They talk about change, they dream about it, but they fail to act. Change requires that you stop waiting for the right moment or for everything to be perfectly aligned. It requires that you take ownership of your life and make the decision to break free from the patterns that have kept you stuck. One of the main reasons people resist this decision to change is fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of failure, and fear of losing what is familiar. Even when we know that the familiar is no longer serving us, we often stay because it feels safer. But safety is an illusion. The comfort zone is an illusion. Staying where you are in the same old patterns might feel easy in the short term, but it comes at a great cost. The cost of not reaching your potential, the cost of not living up to your capabilities, the cost of a life filled with regret for never having taken that first step. To truly change, you must overcome this fear and make the conscious decision to reject your old self. This is not to say that your past should be erased or ignored. Our past experiences shape who we are, but they do not define us. Who we were yesterday does not have to dictate who we are today. Every moment presents an opportunity to decide who we want to be moving forward. The key to transformation lies in understanding that you are not bound by the person you were yesterday. You are free to choose a new path, a new identity, and a new future. But it starts with that one conscious decision to leave behind what no longer serves you. This decision to change is often accompanied by the need for bold action. Change is not a passive activity. It requires doing things differently. It demands that you take steps toward the life you want, even if those steps feel uncomfortable or uncertain. It is easy to talk about wanting to change, but true transformation requires that you back up your words with action. The decisions you make and the actions you take will define the person you become. If you want to see real change in your life, you must begin by taking bold, purposeful action in the direction of your goals. Bold action means stepping outside of your comfort zone and pushing beyond the limits of what you thought was possible. It means taking risks, trying new things, and confronting the challenges that have been holding you back. Bold action does not mean recklessness or impulsiveness, but rather a determined and deliberate effort to move forward, even in the face of uncertainty. It is the willingness to step into the unknown and trust that each action you take will lead you closer to the person you want to become. This is where most people fail. They wait for the perfect time to act, or they allow their fears and doubts to paralyze them. They tell themselves that they will take action once the circumstances are right, once they have all the information, or once they feel more confident. But the truth is that the perfect time never comes. Waiting for everything to be aligned perfectly is a trap. The only way to move forward is to act, even when you don't have all the answers, even when you feel uncertain or scared. The most successful people in the world didn't wait for the perfect conditions to change their lives. They took action in the face of uncertainty, and it was that action that eventually led them to success. Taking bold action also means that you must embrace the idea of failure as a necessary part of the process. Too often, we fear failure so much that we avoid taking any action at all. But failure is not something to be feared. It is something to be embraced. Every failure is a lesson, every setback is an opportunity to grow, and every mistake brings you closer to the person you are meant to be. The people who succeed are not the ones who avoid failure, but the ones who face it head on and use it as fuel for their journey. The decision to change requires that you let go of the fear of failure and instead view it as a stepping stone toward success. In addition to bold action, change also requires that you develop new habits, new ways of thinking, and new patterns of behavior. Your old habits, your old mindset, and your old ways of doing things are the very things that kept you stuck. If you want to change, you must create new habits that support your goals and vision for your life. This takes time, effort, and consistency, but it is essential for lasting transformation. Every small step you take in the right direction, every new habit you form, and every new way of thinking you adopt moves you closer to the person you want to become. One of the most important aspects of this transformation is understanding the power of your mindset. The decision to change begins with a shift in your thinking. If you continue to think the same way you always have, you will continue to get the same results. Change requires that you think differently, that you see opportunities where others see obstacles, and that you approach challenges with the belief that you can overcome them. A growth mindset, the belief that you can develop and improve over time, is essential for change. When you embrace a growth mindset, you open yourself up to endless possibilities and opportunities. You no longer see limitations as obstacles, but as opportunities to learn and grow. Your mindset shapes your reality. The way you think about yourself, your abilities, and your future will directly impact the actions you take and the outcomes you achieve. If you believe that change is possible and that you are capable of achieving your goals, you will be more likely to take the actions necessary to make that change a reality. If you believe that you are stuck or that things will never improve, you will remain in the same place. Your beliefs create your reality, so it is essential to cultivate a mindset that supports your growth and transformation. Ultimately, the decision to change is the first and most important step on the path to personal transformation. It is the moment when you take ownership of your life and decide that you are no longer willing to remain the person you have always been. It is a conscious decision to reject the limitations of your past and embrace the possibilities of your future. But this decision is only the beginning. Change requires bold action, consistency, and a shift in your mindset. By making that decision to change and taking consistent action in the direction of your goals, you set the stage for the transformation you desire. In conclusion, the journey toward personal growth and success is not one of ease or convenience. It is a path defined by conscious choices, deliberate actions, and a willingness to embrace discomfort and disruption. The patterns and habits we follow daily, though often unconscious, shape the reality we live in and can either propel us toward progress or hold us back in mediocrity. The first step in breaking free from these limitations is recognizing the power of our own patterns and making the decision to challenge them. It is only when we reject the old self and the familiar comfort zones that we can truly begin the transformation process. Growth is not something that happens passively or automatically. It demands action. It requires that we disrupt our routines, step out of our comfort zones, and face the discomfort that inevitably comes with change. Whether it is in the form of personal development, career advancement, or the pursuit of our goals, growth is rooted in our ability to embrace discomfort and take bold steps forward. It is the discomfort of breaking free from the known and stepping into the unknown that unlocks our true potential. But transformation is not simply about discomfort or taking action. It is about making a conscious decision to change. This decision is the catalyst for all subsequent actions. It is a deliberate and purposeful choice to reject the limitations of the past and to take ownership of our future. Too often, people wait for the right moment or for everything to fall into place before they make that choice. The truth is that the right moment is now. Change begins when we decide to act, even in the face of uncertainty and fear. The decision to change is not just about setting goals. It is about committing to a new way of thinking, acting, and being. Once the decision to change is made, it requires bold action. Action is the bridge between intention and achievement. Without action, our dreams and desires remain unfulfilled, and our growth remains stagnant. Bold action means taking risks, trying new things, and challenging the status quo. It means stepping into discomfort and embracing the unknown, knowing that every step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer to the person you are capable of becoming. In order to sustain this growth and transformation, it is essential to develop new habits, mindsets, and ways of thinking that support the person we wish to become. Our past behaviors and limiting beliefs may have served us in the past, but they will not propel us forward. Creating new habits, cultivating a growth mindset, and building resilience in the face of challenges are all essential components of lasting change. The person we are today is not defined by our past mistakes or failures. It is defined by the decisions we make today and the actions we take tomorrow. Ultimately, change is a continuous process. It is not a one-time event, but a lifelong commitment to growth, improvement, and transformation. The moment we decide to break free from old patterns, take bold action, and challenge ourselves, we begin the journey toward becoming the best version of ourselves. Change is not easy, but it is worth it. The life you desire, the success you seek, and the person you wish to become are all within your reach, but it all starts with the decision to take that first step. It begins when you choose to reject the old self and embrace the possibilities that lie ahead.